Okay, ready. I want to welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen regular meeting, Wednesday, July 5th, 2017. It's actually a special meeting because we're on summer schedule, but we're here anyway. Okay, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public input before we start? Surprisingly, no. We're going to skip around a little bit. We're going to do new business first because they're really short and sweet. The resignation of...
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I read this? Peter is my old colleague, and I have a lot of respect for him. So this is a letter of resignation from former Zoning Board of Appeals Chairman, Peter D. Karen, longtime member, dated June 28, 2017. Dear Honorable Selectmen, please accept my resignation from the Zoning Board of Appeals effective July 1st, 2017. Sincerely yours, Peter D. Karen. Man of few words. Man of few words. Short and sweet. Peter, I miss working with you. I'm glad we still keep in touch, and professionally and personally, and I just wish you all the best, and it was an honor to work with you, truly.
And I want to second that. We appreciate all the time you spent as a chairman of the zoning board, Peter, and you've been very active in our town government, and we all appreciate that. So,
absolutely.
Thank you, and wish you the best.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Peter Karen from the Zoning Board of Appeals with thanks and appreciation for his many years of service.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, appoint Tom Medeiros to the Insurance Advisory Committee. Do we have any? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we appoint Tom Medeiros to the Insurance Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
I just want to clarify, the Insurance Advisory Committee, and Selectman Goulart, you know this well because you are the one who spends the most time with them. They have someone from every department represented on this committee to have their voice present in terms of making decisions regarding health insurance through the town. So Mr. Christopher Reddy, Lieutenant Christopher Reddy, resigned from the committee, so Mr. Medeiros will be effectively representing the fire department on the Insurance Advisory Committee. Yeah, the union, that is true.
Plus there is a
The fire association.
retiree who also sits on the board, which we appointed.
Motion? Making a motion?
I thought we already...
Yeah, we already did
We already
that.
did that, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, then we have a number of appointments of Christopher McGee, who's our interim fire chief until we are able to hire a permanent fire chief, and I guess, let me just do them all at once.
Yeah.
You skipped C.
Yeah, I know, I want to get those out of the way.
You're going to do that?
Oh, it's a little
you're
more
going back.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get these little easy ones out of the way.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Acting Chief Christopher McGee to the Disaster Committee.
Can we do them all together?
Let's do them all together.
Okay. So I will add, after Mr. McGee, to the Disaster Committee and to the, appoint Acting Chief McGee to the position of EMS Director, and the Municipal Right to Know Coordinator, and to the Insurance Advisory Committee.
Second.
Is it?
Good grief.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Great, thank you. The other one we have here is approve a job description for the Board of Health agent. And,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, Tom. LCR.
Mr. Pires, do you mind? We know who he is.
Everybody doesn't. Yeah, they probably do.
I appreciate your effort for urgency so we can get this out of the way, but we haven't formally approved it ourselves yet.
Okay. Okay.
And I think going forward, are you meeting next week?
Yes.
we start at 6. I think it would be a good idea for us to meet with you. And so if there's any questions, we can answer it. And we will have it on our agenda next meeting to approve. And you can do the same. And once you have want to ask us any questions.
So once you approve it, we'll bring it back next week, next Wednesday night.
Yeah, you can put it on, because we're going to approve it before you meet, so.
Sounds good. Okay, so we'll table
All right,
this.
would you prefer that we meet with you for any questions, or?
I think we should do it, we'll have to do it in a public meeting, open meeting, so. Unless anybody has any questions now.
No, I think it'd be good if you come, because you can say, we've
Yeah.
reviewed it and we'd approved it, and
Okay, all right.
And we'll review them.
So we'll hold off one more week.
If we have any questions, we'll just text them to your email
Okay.
to you, so you can be
That's fine.
prepared to answer them at the meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table action on the job description for the Board of Health agent until our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See, I've learned there's no discussion on the motion to table.
That's correct.
What's that?
There's no discussion on the motion to table.
Oh, he knows well.
I've learned this, see?
Tom
Proud of
knows
myself.
very,
Okay,
very
thank you,
well.
You know, these little things count, you know? Okay, going back to old business,
What about H? We're gonna do H tonight?
Oh, yep.
oh, I'm sorry.
He can't read his own writing. It is really, it's tough.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Tom Ross, Electrical Inspector.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, great. Okay, now can I go up to old business? Award the bid for the Center Street contract, sidewalk contract. Tom, you want to speak to that, or?
Mr. Ferry, Highway
Ferry.
Superintendent.
Let me read this here. This is from Thomas Terry, Superintendent of Streets, to the Board of Selectmen. After reviewing bids received for the sidewalk construction, I would like the board to consider G-Lopes Construction. They were the only bidder able to start work during the summer months prior to school session. As we know, this area during school hours is problematic with heavy congestion with the 3 school districts using this intersection. Want to add to that at all? or?
Yes, G-Lopes was not the lowest bidder. We are very familiar with their company. They're a local company. We're very familiar. They work with us already. A lot of our materials come from them. So I know their track record. I'm not too familiar with the other one. But however, I do think safety is paramount in that location, especially when we're closer to that intersection. And I think it's very crucial. Actually, we have a resident here. I probably can vouch for that. It's crucial that we do this during the summer.
Right.
Mr. Ferry, and you know I always take and appreciate your counsel. My question is, do we have an idea of how long it will take this project? Will it be like completed by the end of the summer?
No, because other things are evolving and we can start, they will probably start August 1st and wrap it up into September. So if we start it that early, we'll minimize the problem we're gonna have in the intersection.
Agreed.
So the bulk of it will be done before school starts?
Yes. And as far as considering the higher bid, it was advertised that we wanted the work started during the summer. We required a pre-bid meeting, and it was articulated then also, and also on the day of the opening, it was also discussed. So it was very clear that we needed to start it during the summer.
And none of the others could start that soon?
No, the other company looks like they're starting in October, later part of September, October.
Yep. Okay, a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the Center Street Sidewalk Project construction to G-Lopes Construction at a total bid price of,
Total bid price
Oh,
of?
I'm sorry. I didn't know she was waiting for me.
I didn't know you were gonna look
I
at me for that.
apologize, Select. I didn't mean to keep you hanging.
You want me to say it?
go ahead,
Of $129,900.
$129,900.
Yes.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I wanted to thank you, Mr. Ferry, for always steering us in the right direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Well, we have someone to blame if it doesn't go in the right direction.
Okay. The next order of business is to discuss the ongoing issues at Dighton Rock Park, which is the area down the south end of Dighton, right on the river. And there's been a number of issues that have gone on. If anybody wants a copy of this, here, public document. But there's been a number of issues that have gone on down there over the last few months. And so what we had done, everybody got the copy they want?
Does Tom have one?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
So what we had done, we have met several times to discuss some of the issues down there. And then what we did earlier in June, we talked to Gay and Gay, our attorneys, and they came over and we sat down with them in here for, I don't know, better part of an hour and a half, and kind of went through what the situation is. And then they've given us a letter with some recommendations on it. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to have a general discussion amongst us and amongst other people here to kind of start talking about what we should do. So let me start off with saying, I don't want to read the whole letter, but one of the big questions is all the roads down in that area are private ways. They're not public roads. They've not been accepted by the town. So our lawyer has made a recommendation has made a statement. The statute states that towns may, by bylaw, provide temporary fare to private ways. Let me see. But basically, they're private ways, and we're using public funds and equipment to take care of private property. And we should not, they advise us not to continue to do that. There's all kinds of issues, liability issues, and that kind of thing. So then the question becomes, do we accept them as towns, public roads in our town? Now, I know there's issues with that, only because that would require, the first thing it would require is identifying the boundaries of the roads, which would take a survey. So I don't know, Jim, you want to speak to that, or Tom?
I definitely want to hear, the
right.
experts. Yeah.
Would you step up here, though, so we can...
Which expert? Mr. Commissioner.
Sure. So, hello, Dighton. Hope everyone's well, enjoying the summer. It's finally here. Yes, Dighton Rock Park. We've had a lot of problems down there, mainly because there's no definitive lines delineated. And because they're unaccepted roads, some are actually paper roads, they're shown only in plan, two-dimensionally, and they're not actually traveled, it creates a lot of confusion. It also creates problems, as the chairman said, in maintaining those roads, and then enforcement actions when situations arise where people are using property that may or may not belong to them. So I read through Attorney Gay's recommendations. I was here for the meeting. I've had numerous discussions with town officials, and I would have to say, as a public safety official, I would concur that we should move forward with the possibility and discussion of accepting these roads. What that means logistically is it means a survey. We would have to put the surveying out to bid, which I've already done. It's not an exorbitant amount of money. I'll defer to the chairman if he wants to disclose. In addition to that, there would be some easements that would need to be drawn. We're going to have to bring in other departments, such as the Water Department, Board of Health, because this is going to create more questions that need to be answered in order for it to be taken to town meeting and put in front of you, the people, as to whether or not these roads are accepted. Mr. Ferry, I don't want to speak for him, but he's been maintaining the roads, and whether they're unaccepted or accepted, he's maintaining them because Dighton residents live on them. And I think that's an appropriate thing to do. But I think it's time that we actually cross the line, so to speak, and move forward with getting this done.
I mean, to quote from Gay and Gay's letter, in our opinion, the town must adopt a bylaw pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 6N, before expending public funds to maintain the private ways within the Dighton Rock Park neighborhood. So that really forces our hand if we want to take our legal counsel's advice.
Right.
So then the other issue is, you know, as everybody down there knows, and anybody who's driven down there knows, there's vehicles that look like they're in the road. We think, we don't know where the boundaries are, but we think they're in the road. The road's, I think there's a 40-foot, generally it's 40 feet, right?
They're between 30 and 40 feet
30 and
down
40
there.
feet, yeah.
Right.
So that would give us the ability to, for everybody's safety and everybody's peace of mind down there, that would allow us, if we do the survey as Jim recommended, we would know exactly where the boundaries of the roadway are. And then it would be much easier to enforce, you know, complaints about things parked in the wrong place or whatever.
And the estimate that I solicited from the surveyors, I requested that at least 26 bounds be installed at all the intersections and at key points so that there's no question as to where the public and private property would begin and end. So, and that of course was in conjunction with the highway department to actually physically set the concrete bounds, but the surveyor would actually give us the points for which we need to do that. And that's paramount. I've mediated lots of property line disputes, and when I have bounds to work off of, it's usually pretty easy once the conversation's over for people to understand where property lines are. So we need to delineate them appropriately in order to do this correctly.
Right.
But the other thing that it does is with more people moving in and houses changing hands, which is happening down there, people aren't taking into consideration that they are narrow roadways, the gravel is only maybe 20 feet wide at some points, and when you park a car there, it becomes a safety hazard. You might not get emergency apparatus down there. It's subject to flooding. There are lots of concerns down there that need to be addressed. So, but I think this is step one.
Right. The other thing, just I want to read this again, in our opinion, based on the present state of affairs of the roads being private, the actual traveled ways being apparently passable to the extent that public safety vehicles would have the ability to access the property along their streets, we do not believe the Board of Selectmen or any other town board would presently have a basis to order the removal of items from the layouts outside of the traveled ways, based on the public safety concerns. However, in our opinion, if the streets were accepted as public ways, the town would certainly have a basis to keep the layouts of the roads clear along the entire width and length of the town layout. So, again, you know, we really, what it boils down to, we really have no authority down there because we don't know the boundaries, so we can't tell somebody to move something off the property because we don't know where the property is, and we don't know where the street is. So we're kind of in a pickle here because we should not be maintaining the roads except for concerns about public safety, which will always make sure they're passable for that. But we shouldn't be maintaining the roads, and we don't have the authority to enforce any movement of things off the roads. So, you know,
Mr. Commissioner, I actually have one quick question. From a professional standpoint, as we know, there has been a bit of tension down there between different neighbors. I'll just summarize it that way. In terms of accepting the roads, the town now has responsibility to maintain them, actual responsibility to maintain them. What is the benefit in terms of, from the town's perspective, of now saying, we now have the responsibility? My personal feeling, without, you know, being as well versed in the daily minutia down there, would be that I feel like we might be now the moderator in this dispute, if you will.
Understood. We don't have to get into details, but moderator we would no longer be. We would be the enforcement authority, period. Dot and a comma, so it would all go away.
I guess my question for you is, you know, I rely on your expertise
Sure.
every single day that I come to this building. So do you think this is the way to go,
I
proceed forward?
I
Okay.
do. And as far as costs are concerned, and I can defer to Mr. Ferry on this, but he's maintaining the roads already. And like we said, he's doing it because there's Dayton taxpayers down there. I don't know that accepting these roads would add any maintenance, but again, I'll defer to him on that. There might be some things that he wants to do that he's reluctant to do because they're not
Of course.
town roads.
See, I think the other thing too is that everybody down there pays taxes like everybody else in town.
Absolutely.
And therefore, I think we have a responsibility to maintain the roads for taxpayers, assuming we already do it for safety. But I think we have to also make sure that we're protecting the town against liability if we decide to do that. So that's kind of my position on that. Tom?
I'm looking at this, the bottom of page, the first page, the bottom of this. First of all, what we're doing down there is illegal. All right? So let's address maintenance. That's the first thing, because that's what the attorney addresses.
Do I get disciplined?
No.
You were just trying to help.
I think, I want you to see what I'm
I
referring
think I
to.
just read that. Didn't I just read that? I believe I just read.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Not
In
that
our
exact
opinion,
line.
this is town council talking. No, this is to do what is legally right so that what the highway department is doing is legal. We've got to get a bylaw. In our opinion, in order to maintain the private ways in the Dayton Rock Park neighborhood, the town would need to act in accordance with MGL Chapter 40, Section 6N. The statute states that the towns may, by bylaw, provide for making temporary repairs on private ways. Such a bylaw must determine A, the type and extent of repairs, B, if drainage shall be included, C, if the repairs are required by public necessity, D, the number or percentage of abutters who must petition for such repairs. That's a step that has never been taken. If betterment charges shall be assessed, the liability limit of the city or town on account of damages caused by such repairs, if the ways shall have been open to public use for a term of years, and if a cash deposit shall be required for said repairs. So I think the bylaw is the first step. And the town council says that they're willing to help us with this bylaw, so we need to get a bylaw passed to cover what we're already doing. Do you interpret it that way, Tom?
Yes.
Because somebody said a letter was written, and Gay says we can't find any letter. So that's the first thing we have to do.
Right.
So I'm thinking the first thing this board has to do is ask Gay to draft a bylaw for us.
I think there's two.
I had two comments to make, and that was my second one. And it's, since you're discussing this, private ways, and you're gonna draft a letter, you make, instead of using the name of the streets, or if you are using the name of the street, I need your board to consider Winfield Lane, it's the same situation.
Well, I think if we pass the bylaw, it's going to cover all of the roads that are in similar condition.
Right.
And I think we need to address that one too. I think we need
So
to
that's going to affect, if you're ready to do the survey, the survey bid.
do it, we should do it all the same, yeah.
And don't we have, the other dirt roads that we have, are they, they're not accepted town roads, but have they been surveyed?
I'm not sure how, they originally were the roads that they named, like Wellington Street.
Yeah, Old Wellington.
No, it's Wellington Street, the dirt park.
So what's the other one?
We used to own that island, and I believe somehow that Mr. Garabedian acquired that. But
Okay.
yet, Wellington Street still goes through his property, so I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not the surveyor.
Okay.
And then Horton Street, the dirt park.
Oh, okay.
Those have Horton Street address.
Well, I think we should break this down because I'd like to address this one first. We need to draft that bylaw. Once we have that bylaw, then we can come back and determine what, because we can't do them all at once, I don't think, but determine which ones we're going to do next with the goal of getting all the unaccepted roads in Dayton accepted.
Yeah.
Would you think you'd be ready for the fall meeting?
Yes, hopefully with that bylaw.
Yeah.
My first comment is going to be adding on to what Jim had described about our park situation. What's evolved, especially in the last 18 months, is now we have asphalt driveways encroaching on where we
Correct.
grade and snowplow, which we could damage, and also some private utilities like sewer lines going under the road. If we're going to accept the roads, we don't even know if we can allow traffic on top of that line.
Right.
And in the interim, are we responsible now and then after I was responsible.
So the first step is we do the bylaw, and it will cover all, as far as, it'll allow the town to maintain all of the roads that we're talking about. We're just talking, in other words, maintain them at the level that you're already doing. That's all I'm saying. Now, the other thing too is the number or percentage of abutters who must petition for such repairs. We'll have to find out from the town council, how do we go about doing that?
But I think that might be a moot point, though, if we decide to accept them.
No, we're not there, we're not
I know,
there
I'm
yet.
talking about temporary repairs.
All I'm saying is, he's citing the general law, and he cited these things. One of the conditions is the number or percentage of abutters who must petition for such repairs. So we gotta get the word out to the residents of those streets, that what that bylaw is, and how it would affect them.
Right.
Okay?
Can I ask you a question, Selectman Goulart? Is that because, and don't laugh if I'm wrong, is that because there is a possibility in general that they may not want it and they would have the right, I'm confused as to what that's for.
There is an ancient way in town that residents along that road have made clear.
Yeah, so that is what that's for?
The first thing
Okay,
we're talking about here is temporary repairs. That's what we're talking about first, with a bylaw for that, because what Nancy just cited, the statute states town by bylaw providing for making temporary repairs on private ways.
Correct.
And
So
that's
these are the conditions, right, that
So
you
the-
have to satisfy for that?
for the temporary
Correct.
repairs. And
So
then
that
we
what
need to
he's
get-
doing is okay.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next thing will be to move into accepting the roads.
Yes.
Because this is only for repairs required by public necessity. So that'll be like potholes
And
and,
he's only mentioned the roads being used, not paper roads.
right.
Right.
Mr.
So, yeah, if
I mean,
I understand what the board is saying, but the only way we're going to address the problems that are arising down there is bringing the roads to the town meeting
Right.
and having them accepted.
Yeah, right.
So is it my understanding that the intent is to adopt Chapter 40 as recommended at the fall, and then bring the...
no, I mean, I think if we can get it resolved, then we wouldn't have to worry about that temporary.
We could do multiple motions if we get everything done. So if we can get town council to draft a bylaw that addresses the issues that they've listed here, and also if the survey can be done and it comes in with names of streets, or there may be some streets in other parts of town, other than Dighton Rock Park, where the residents do not want them accepted. They just want to maintain the way they are.
So let's get a process. I want to nail down what we're going to do here. If we get a warrant article to accept the streets in Dighton Rock Park as town property, public ways, then we don't need to worry about this temporary repair thing, because we're going to continue to do what you've been doing.
Well, that's a permanent solution.
I know,
No.
I still have another street.
I know that, yeah, but let's get this one settled first, because we'll have to address that street specifically. So what I'm saying is, if we get a warrant article on there for accepting the streets in Dighton Rock Park, then we don't need to worry about this temporary for public necessity, because we'll already be maintaining them at that point. I think we need another article then on other streets that you think, like Wellington Circle or Wellington, whatever, that we need to get that as a town warrant also.
With that temporary, that by law that you mentioned,
Yeah.
would that be in lieu of something that's under construction also, that's not accepted?
Yes,
So it may be behoove us to have that by law in place.
yeah. If
What? Yep,
if I may.
but I think you need to, well, maybe not.
If
Mr.
I
Commissioner.
may, I agree with that statement, and I want to expand upon it. I think you need to do two things at town meeting. I think you need to take the recommendation of town council, because now it's in writing.
Right, oh,
and
yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
liability issue.
Correct.
So we need to make sure we are allowing Tom to go on roads that he has rights to. It will also help us with our snow plowing issue with new subdivisions. When we act in the absence of the developer acting, accepting this also allows him
Right.
access to the property, because it's still private property.
And public.
I would agree.
Right. Now, in addition to that, If we act expediently, we can also bring a plan to town meeting in the fall for acceptance of the roads in Dayton Rock Park. And that will clean up a list this long of problems that we're dealing with down there. But we need to involve other departments. We need to involve health, water department. We need to get all of the infrastructure stuff discussed.
So I would agree, so we do need this one, so you can apply it to any unaccepted road.
Right.
And then,
Instead of scrambling
Yeah,
when it's
you're right.
snowing.
right, and then, but then in the meantime, hopefully by this time, we'll have another warrant article that accepts those roads down there, or the Wellington Street,
I
whatever we can get
understand,
done.
Yeah, And
I
the
agree.
thing is, because it says, the number or percentage of abutters who must petition for such repair, if we have a particular road, street, that the residents on that street say, we support the repairs, don't put us on the list for acceptance. That way we can do that with a separate article. So we do the bylaw first, and the people who say, we don't want our road accepted as a town road, but we want the minimal maintenance, that bylaw will take care of it.
However,
Then the next warrant article would cover the streets that you want to list, which would be, it could be all of them except a particular street where people don't want it accepted, but they will still get the maintenance, and it will be okay because of the bylaw.
however, you gotta read further, because it says, if betterment charges shall be assessed, the number and percentage of abutters who petition for such repairs, if betterment charges shall be assessed, the liability limit of the city or town, if the ways have all been open to public use for terms of years, and if a cash deposit shall be required for said repairs. So what this is really saying, we'll need to discuss this further, it's private property, so are those people that live on those streets responsible for anything we do? And that's something we'd have to put into the bylaw.
And this is my argument why I think we should be accepting the streets.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't be worrying about private citizens taking care of their own roads.
No, absolutely not. I would agree.
No, he's just listing the things that
I'm
should
just-
be in the bylaw, but I think,
But just be aware that we might, it could result in people, if the street's not accepted, they result in them having to pay.
but when we talk to, I assume it's going to be Matt, when we talk to
Yeah.
Matt, we say, does this have to be in there specifically? And if he says, no, it doesn't, then that bylaw won't contain
Yeah, I'm
it.
sure it doesn't, that's a decision I think we can make probably. But I just want to bring that up as a point that people need to be aware of.
Right.
The other, go ahead, you got anything else to say on that one? We'll move to the- I
So,
wanna
so,
move to the next article.
again, I'm just looking at I'm looking at the two steps. Are we in agreement that we need the bylaw? Just
For temporary
Just
repairs.
for discussion purposes, we need the bylaw, because it's what's happening now. And there will be some, we know, who don't want their road accepted, but want the minimal repairs, okay. And then the second warrant article would be the list of streets that you're gonna ask the people to accept, wherever they are.
Right, but the only way we can legally do that is to have those streets delineated on a
Yeah, I know.
plan.
Right, I understand that,
We
yeah,
can decide-
yeah.
We can decide that.
But I'm just looking at the steps that we have to take based on this letter.
Yes, yes.
Tom,
Let me, go ahead. You have another?
those steps, does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to read this so we don't leave anything out, but the other question was whether the town may clear the full width of the layout of the streets within the neighborhood. One concern expressed by the Board of Selectmen was that the existence of parked vehicles, boats, structures within the layouts of Park Avenue, Beach Street, Washington Street, and Cherry Street could be removed by the town based on the concerns regarding public safety. In our opinion, based on the present state of affairs of the roads being private and the actual traveled ways being apparently passable to the extent that public safety vehicles would have the ability to access the properties along their streets, we do not believe the Board of Selectmen or any other town board would presently have a basis to order the removal of items on those layouts. However, in our opinion, if the streets are accepted as public ways, the town would certainly have a basis to keep the layouts of the roads clear through the entire width and length of the town layout. Also, if the ways were accepted as public ways, the town would have the right to take whatever action it would deem necessary to maintain the ways. Therefore, we would recommend that these streets, which are open to the public, be accepted by the town. And then it talks about the process of accepting, which goes back to what we already talked about. We need to have a plan prepared, show the proposed public ways, et cetera, and we'd have a warrant article. So what Jim has done is gotten bids from several surveyors, and it's actually not that expensive, much. It's less than $10,000. So it's pretty cheap, but I think that might be one thing we just want to do as quick as possible, so we know what we're dealing with, because I think until we do that, we don't really know what we're dealing with. The other thing, in several places throughout this letter, by converting the ways to public ways, we believe that any damage awards would be quite nominal, if any at all. Which means we wouldn't have to take land to do this, because we just be reestablishing what the boundaries are for the streets.
Unless somebody's deed contains a boundary and we need that land for that layout. So that would be the contingency. If somebody actually has a deed that says,
Right.
there would be damages.
You have a comment, Tom?
Yeah, I have a little comment about acceptance of the streets as they're laid out. Plan I saw, I think from 1920, thereabouts, pretty much they're all 40 feet.
Right.
We're trying to rectify the problem because there's structures on the sides of the road within the layout of the road. The last paragraph on second page, I think it is, the attorney talks about accepting them as they are, and we can upgrade to what degree we feel is necessary. Now, depending on what the survey comes out, I think that's going to hold a lot of weight in what direction you're going to go. Just because we're going to accept the 40 feet doesn't mean it's got to be clear. We can leave them at 20 feet.
And it doesn't mean we're going to pay.
Like they are. It just gives us the right now to remove those structures that are on our property, because as you go throughout town, many of the people have landscaped their property
Right.
to the edge of the road.
Right.
And the layout is bigger than what's there, so I don't know to what extent we're gonna wanna improve them.
I think once we get the survey done, then we can have that discussion. We need to, and the residents down there will also be involved in that discussion, because the other thing that he talks about on the last page here is structures that are currently might be on the public way. If a structure's been there for at least 10 years, we believe the best approach to structure would be to take no action unless the structure actually interferes with the ability to pass and repass along the street. If the structure's been there for more than 10 years, then as a zoning matter, it cannot be ordered to be removed. If it's been there for more than 20 years, the property owner would likely own the land under it by adverse possession. Therefore, we recommend not taking any action with respect to the structures at the present time. I think, again, we need to get the survey done. We need to see where the structures are and how permanent they are as well.
I can comment on that. I think the only place the adverse possession may come into play is on strictly paper streets that haven't been developed.
Yeah.
That may come into play, but as part of this, if we don't accept a paper street, the paper street property reverts to the abutting property owners.
Yeah.
So then we wouldn't have a concern with that.
If that's how we decide to
Right.
go.
None of the structures that we know as town officials that are discussed in that document meet any of those criteria. So all of those structures, if the roads were accepted, would have to be removed.
Okay, they've all been there less than 10 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. The other thing that he talks about, there's been a lot of discussion who owns the road if it's an unaccepted road. And he clearly says, we've been informed by some property owners that owners have suggested that they have the right to utilize the area up to the center line under the theory that they would be deemed to own up to the center line up to the center line of the way. However, for zoning purposes, However, for zoning purposes, a lot generally is not deemed to include any area outside of the boundaries of the parcel of land, including the areas within the layout of an abutting roadway. In our opinion, the property owners are incorrect to rely on the theory that they own up to the center line of an abutting road when they place structures within the street layouts. Such actions do not comply with zoning. And that's basically the letter. I think what Jim talks about paper
That
streets.
is really confusing. Because I know we're questioning who owns it, but we know who doesn't, the town. So it's so confusing, this paragraph, I'm like,
Right.
it's like mental
They
gymnastics.
own the property, their surveyed property is what they own,
Yes, yes,
not the road.
right, right.
But I know what you're
I can understand that. It takes years of reading this to fully
That's why we
grasp
have you.
its discussion. But I do have one comment, and this is a perfect opportunity, if I may bring it up now. I would like the board, if we decide to go forward with the survey, I would like the board to reach back out to town council and find out if any notification needs to be given to property owners
Before the survey?
before the survey. Because what I don't want is any issues with a surveyor out there doing his job for the town to bring this plan to town meeting. I don't want markers being removed, and I'm not pointing the fingers, but we've had a lot of issues down there.
Absolutely.
We need this done above board, so we need to have the legal right to do it.
Okay, so I think, I say we're not gonna make a decision tonight, because I don't think we have enough information. I think we also want to get the neighbor, if any neighbors down here want to come into our selectmen meeting and talk, and be involved in this conversation, this discussion, I think we'd like to offer that to them, so that we get all sides, and everybody knows what's at stake, or, you know, how it can benefit them, or how they think it might not benefit them. So, not that our decision will be based solely on something like that, but at least we need to have input from all the people, property owners down in that.
And you want to do that before that we even have it surveyed?
Yeah, I think, what I'd like to do, I think I'd like to, we can get the opinion from town council about that probably in the next week. I would recommend we table this until next Wednesday night.
Selectman
Discuss
Gould, I was
first.
just going to ask, how do you?
I was ready to make 4 motions here.
She's motion happy.
Well, I'm thinking that we can vote to request that town council prepare the draft bylaw relative to the maintenance, because it's ongoing. And we can, regardless of what happens down there, I think we need to move ahead and get a draft of that bylaw to cover the town.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add, I will support that, because as, you know, I've tried to work on a couple bylaws. It takes some time, and
Well,
so
a
to give
bylaw
them-
you have to have hearings on, too.
Absolutely.
You get it's
So
a
let's
time
have-
thing.
Absolutely.
Let's make that
Okay,
motion, let's get that one.
so, Mr. Chairman, I move that we contact town council to prepare a draft bylaw to cover the provisions of
This one right here.
Chapter 46.
MGL Chapter 40, Section 6N, that deals with temporary repairs on private ways.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good
Okay.
motion.
The other things that I was scribbling was, so, we'll hold on the survey. Jim, we'll hold on hiring,
Yeah.
Maybe you could vote to approve it pending council's opinion with Jim raised. The question that Jim raised about whether or not we should go down there without permission.
oh, well, right now, I'm not making a motion, I was scribbling notes here, so I'm trying to, we took care of the first one, so, so before we contact our engineering firm, Delano,
Well, if that's who we select, because we haven't made that decision yet.
well, isn't the proposal that's in from Delano?
Yes, I'm still waiting for
But we
one
need to
more.
review the other two. You only get 3.
One hasn't responded, and the other one just asked me for more time to get it together.
Okay. So let's hold that decision off.
No, I'm not asking for decisions, I'm just talking about what I scribbled here, I'm trying to get the order of these things done. So the stuff, all right, so the next thing is, we need to contact town council regarding, and we can do this after the meeting next week, regarding contacting property owners before a survey is done.
If needed, I don't know.
We don't know if that's needed.
If we can get that opinion before next week, then I'd like to be able to award.
Well, we should be able to get it.
Yeah, so then I'd like to table the award until next week, but we can make a motion to have them do that and ask that it be done expeditiously so we can discuss next
Okay,
week.
we don't need a motion on contacting town council, that's just a
All right,
phone
that's
call.
fine.
So
Yeah,
Karen, if
just
you
so we're
would
gonna-
contact town council and ask them to render an opinion on if we have to notify property owners before we conduct a survey. Okay? And then what we have left is, when we get the answer to that, we'll know whether or not we got to notify, but then we can also, we can go with, I would assume, if you don't have all the bids, as long as you solicit them, if you've got one, you can award that one.
I'd like to have more than one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So we can just deal
do
with
that
that
next
whole,
week.
that whole award thing next week.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
After we get them.
I'll make sure we have it.
If you-
I know we have the one, I'll try to have two, so, okay.
And the third one is
He's
non-responsive,
not
so that,
responding.
And then the other one, the last item that we have will be, if we get through the legal opinion and the survey, then the last thing will be the other warrant article that we will need
right.
for acceptance. So those are all future agenda items, depending upon what we get for info. Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
Will this survey delineate the area of the town beach? And what's gonna happen with the town beach? Is it gonna be clean, because it's been a mess down there as long as I can remember?
Well, it's not technically a town beach, that's the problem. It's a private beach. But yes, it would delineate all of the areas that are, I don't want to use the wrong word, especially with an opinion from the attorney, but all of the areas that everyone can use, like the roadways, the beach is delineated as a common area. So the town, as far as I know, would be looking to obtain that property as public property.
How far back does it show in the deed that that area was not delineated as a town beach? Because back in the 1900s, when Diam Park was there, that area was
Okay,
delineated
well,
somewhere.
well, that's part of this, that's what the survey will do, it'll
Right.
delineate.
Right, the survey is going to go with all of the reference deeds that are available and delineate the roadways and the beach and eliminate the paper streets that we have no interest in. We're not looking to open up any streets and make any more development, so
Will they be paved when after this is done, just be dirt roads?
I believe they're gonna stay gravel.
Well, that's a decision we'll make
Yeah.
going forward, but we're not proposing that we pave the roads.
No,
I'm
accepting,
not saying that.
accepting a road does not mean we need to pave it. Doesn't mean we have to do anything to it. I know there's some drainage issues that could be done if Tom had the authority to do so, but he's not gonna reinvent the wheel here.
But if we accept them, that gives us the ability, if we,
Right.
if at some point we want to pave them or do improvements to them,
Right.
that we can do that. Okay.
I just wanted to say, I've been to that area that we're calling the town beach. I wouldn't describe it a mess. It's not a mess. I haven't been there in a couple months, so you may know more than me. There's just a couple pillars there. They just need to be removed, that's all. I mean, it could be landscaped, I don't know what the proper word is, but I mean, if those pillars were removed, people could theoretically use it and not have a problem.
When docks were moved out of the river, they go on that property, people park their boats there.
Well,
We can look at that and see what, I mean, are we, I'm not sure, I don't want to make a decision about
yeah,
that
right.
yet.
but right now, it's not public land. So we have no right to say they can't do
Right.
what they want with it. So that's the problem. This is going on long enough.
That is the problem.
These streets should have been accepted a long time ago,
Correct.
so.
Okay, so I think where we're at is this, I think that's the right way to put it. We'll meet again next Wednesday, we'll get the opinion from our legal counsel about the survey, and then hopefully we'll proceed with the survey, so at least we know what we're talking about, we have some boundaries. And also like to invite anybody in that area who has any interest in this, to please come to next week's meeting, so we can have your input and hear what you have to say, your concerns, or whatever. So,
I just wanted
we'll try to get that out to those residents
Oh,
also, so they're informed about what we're discussing.
I just wanted to comment on what you said. I think it's spot on. It has gone on a long time, but that's because it's not easy, and, you know, there are people who feel strongly on both sides of the issue, so I just wanted to take a moment and tell everybody I'm thankful to work with people who aren't afraid to tackle tough issues like this, things that have been going on for a long time. So I'm grateful to work with you guys, all of you, on resolving this. Yep.
Karen, if town council says we have to give that advance notice, would you ask them if they have specific wording?
And how
Or
much?
just a standard form, and how far in advance of the survey beginning do we have to notify them and find out if it has to go certified and,
Tom?
You know what they have to, this is just an outside question, petition to have their street accepted?
Did they what? Petition?
No.
Petition to have their street accepted, or can we just?
well, this says they must petition to have repairs. This doesn't talk about acceptance of the roads.
And I only ask that because of the Dayton Water District nightmare with the hydrants and the streets being accepted and all of that.
I would assume the only, you were here longer than me, Mr. Pires, but I would assume the only way that they would need to petition it if they wanted to is if the Board of Selectmen, for whatever reason, didn't put it on the warrant, basically.
Well, I don't think they want that streets accepted,
Probably not.
because I've talked to one or two people
I
down
think,
there.
I think the next step, once we get a survey, then we need to get all those departments involved to discuss what it really means if we decide to accept those streets, because then we'll know where.
Yeah, how is it going to impact everybody as
Right.
an individual?
We're not, this board is not in a position to make the decision independent of other boards, so I think we
Oh,
need
yeah,
to.
no, no.
I think
Involve
we've
everybody.
also, because I think maybe Jim and Tom, over once in a periodically, don't you hear from the federal government about the flooding? And whatever we do down there, number one, we want to make sure that the maintenance that's being done, we're covered, it's okay. But the other thing is, we don't want to do anything that's going to have some federal agency come in and tell us, you will pave those, you will put in drainage, you will do this, that, and the other. So that's another thing we have to be careful about. And if there are people who say, I don't want my street accepted, like we know we're dealing with one area, we just maintain it so the fire truck can come and the plow can come. You know, we'll have to deal with that.
Well, I think that's why we want to talk to residents, because, I mean, one resident won't be able to stop the whole thing, or one resident won't be able to make it go forward. We just need to make sure everybody's represented, and we hear all the concerns, pros and cons about it. So we can-
But I know what he's referring to, unless
I know.
the acceptance is based on a percentage or amount of land, frontage. Remember that? We got into that with that whole mess?
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
So, you know,
so-
Yeah, we'll
who
get-
would have thought that would have happened, you know?
Right.
Well,
When
that's
they
why
expanded the district.
the other departments need to be a part of
Absolutely.
this,
Absolutely.
integral part of
Yes,
this.
and we learn from those experiences.
And when
too, so
town
we
council-
make the same
No, we
mistake.
Drafts this bylaw, they're gonna have to address all of these things they've put in here that they're saying have to be considered. So we may have to do other further notifications or get other feedback from residents, whatever. But anyhow, it's a first step.
Okay. Any other thoughts about that process? Mr. Ferry's over there shaking his head.
He's figuring out how,
We're gonna try and get this done before the snow flies.
no, he's thinking, how many years before I retire?
All right. Okay, if that's all we have to discuss, again, I
You're
want to,
saying this has been that way for going on 100 years, and all of a sudden we're faced with this.
but it needs to be, it should have been dealt with.
The old adage, if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
It's
This one's
broke.
broken, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
This one's broken. This is not working anymore.
I mean, I think one of the,
Agree with you
I
there.
think one of the things that
Yeah.
we need to do is look at issues like this
Right.
and fix them before they become a problem. Like, this has been a problem, and if it had been done years ago, maybe it wouldn't, we'd have much
Well,
But
firmer ground to stand
years
on.
ago, the property was owned by different people. It's
Yeah.
the change of
Sure.
ownership and other situations that have arisen that we're trying to address. My main concern right now is protect the town legally, and we're gonna do that with the bylaw.
Take care of the residents. Yes.
So,
That's the street up by the people didn't want to.
that's yeah, it's an ancient way. Yeah,
That's when we're talking about.
well, that's one of the other ones, yes.
There's a few.
We'll get this stuff going, and we'll we'll have a lot of discussion between now and town meeting special.
We may, now that you mention that, we need to make another field trip up there because periodically one of the residents calls in and says, when are you coming back, and letting us know what's going to happen. So, and we said we would go back when it's not 40 below.
Well,
Well, I
seeing
think-
as how it was 0 last time, let's go up when it's 100 now.
We gotta find a happy medium
I
here.
think the people that are on that street are also welcome to come next week, because it's
Right.
gonna all affect you, so we'll
Well,
try and get
to
the,
the people on the street, you're welcome all the time, because these are public meetings.
I know, I'm
so
just
don't-
encouraging
feel
people to
free-
come.
Feel free to come down.
I agree with Jim, though, let's get back there before there's another chimney fire, house fire.
absolutely agree with that 100%.
Serious medical problem.
Yep.
So actually, if anyone watching this is living on a unaccepted road in town, a dirt road, long-time dirt road, I'm not talking new developments, Wellington Street, Horton Street, Winfield Lane, the streets in Dighton Rock Park. If you would like to come to the Selectmen's meeting next week, we will be having a general discussion about acceptance of those roads or not accepting them, but you'll find it informational, and if you can't come, at least watch it on TV.
It's better to have you here so we can hear your comments.
Yeah.
But- Okay, let's move on. You want to talk about the website?
Sure. Okay, so the new Town of Dighton website's up and running. More information on town business is now available to residents through the website, and more opportunities are available for you all to directly communicate with individual departments. The website address is www.dighton-ma.gov. Again, that's www.dighton-ma.gov. I am working on getting the out-of-date links from the old website off of Google, so I'm working on that now. But the website is up and running. We all worked hard on it. It's all for all of you to be able to find the information you want and to make things easier for you. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can email me directly, call me, however you prefer to interact with me, and I'm happy to change things around.
And I want to, again, commend Brett for putting the effort into the website and all the openness that's been created within our town government by putting this on YouTube and all those other things. So I think, if you think back to about 15 months ago, there wasn't much out there. And now, just in a short 15 months, we really have a top-notch.
We were writing on stone tablets 15
Yeah, I
minutes ago.
know, so we really made a lot of progress, and
I'm just joking.
we've done a great job.
Thank you. It would not have it would not have happened without the support of this board and people, in the town who knew it was needed. So I appreciate
Give
it.
the address one more time, Brett, please.
www.dighton-ma.gov.
Okay.
Do we have correspondence? I think we have any acknowledgements.
Just read the rest of the announcements if you want. Mr. Chair.
We can do.
Good night,
I
Mr.
think
Chairman.
Correspondence, no acknowledgements.
Go ahead, it's short.
What do you want to do? Oh, announcements.
Go ahead, Brett.
Trash bags, sharps disposal containers, and recycling stickers are all for sale at the Board of Selectmen's office. Please call 508-669-6431 for more information. There are vacancies on the Historical Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Land Use Committee, and the Capital Outlay Committee. Also, the Community Preservation Committee has an opening for a Historical Commission representative. There is also an opening for the town sealer of weights and measures, and also a full-time fire chief. If you're interested in being our next full-time permanent fire chief, please feel free to forward your cover letter and resume to Board of Selectmen at townofdighton.com, or you can send it to the Board of Selectmen's office via post at 979 Somerset Avenue, North Dighton, Massachusetts, 02715. Side note, police officer full-time position applications are due in the Board of Selectmen's office tomorrow by 4 p.m. The Board of Selectmen is now on their summer meeting schedule. We will be meeting every other week during the summer. This is a theory.
In theory, theoretical only.
In practice, we'll be here every Wednesday
I
at
mean,
7:30.
We have so much to do, like tonight, we don't want to run these meetings for 2 or 3 hours, so we're trying to have a meeting.
So we have
every
more
night.
meetings, but they're shorter.
Right, so you can all watch them and come
No.
down here too.
Absolutely.
Great. So-
Normal meeting schedule will resume on September 6th, 2017. The Dayton Lions Club Food Bank distribution does have new hours. Going forward, the hours will be 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., with the next distribution occurring on July 22nd of 2017. And lastly, Zico's group Auctioneers will hold a live public auction at Dayton Town Hall on Tuesday, July 18th, 2017 at 12 noon. Highlighted will be Van Giessen Hall at 495 School Street and 9 other properties chosen by the Land Use Committee. Visit zicosgroup.com for more details.
I have a question, just a quick question. In regard to appointments, is there anything in town that states that there's a time frame from the time the appointments are read to the time you accept your appointment? Because that's gone in the past where people haven't come in within 6 months to be appointed and the committee's not getting any work
I don't
done.
know if we establish a time frame, but we'll look at that and make sure that happens. It has to happen. If you've been appointed to a committee, you need to come in here and get it done. We just signed all the documents today. There's about, I don't know, a couple hundred of them, so. But we'll talk to the clerk and we'll keep tabs on that and not let it go on, so.
They'll be signed. I'll
Good
get
point.
it done.
Well, you're the holdup.
They have 2 signatures, it's legal.
Okay. Approval of warrants.
No, Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant 53A-17 in the amount of $78,633.84.
Yeah, the first 4 are 2017.
These are all, these are all accounts payable. Okay. Warrant number 53B-17 in the amount of $8,475.04. Warrant 53C-17 in the amount of $174,622.73. And warrant 53D-17 in the amount of $2,992.10, all dated June 30th, be approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant 1A-18 in the amount of $5,895.68. Warrant 1B-18 in the amount of $789,492.16. And warrant 1C-17 in the amount of $492,423.27, all dated July the 5th, be approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else from anybody in the public or the board?
Before we go, we do need to approve the minutes.
No, we're
they're not ready.
tabling the minutes.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
I just have one little report. I attended the reading of the Declaration of Independence last night at the community church. It was well attended. I think the attendance grows every year. Pastor Dave Stewart he led the candlelight procession from the cemetery to the church, and before we did the procession, he read the letter that John Adams wrote to his wife Abigail, talking about what actions had been taken and the importance of what was about to occur, the Declaration of Independence. And then the Minutemen fired a volley, and then there was we marched into the beat of the drum, and then Mr. Menges made a brief statement prior to reading the Declaration, and he dedicated the ceremony last night to all of those serving in the military in this country who are in effect guaranteeing that independence and freedom for all of us. And then he read it, and the ceremony ended, and there were some refreshments over in the hall after, but it was very well attended. It was really nice.
And we all went to the Winfield Davis museum
house.
reopening this weekend.
Yep, that was nice.
Fantastic
Wonderful.
work. We have the chairman of the Community Preservation Committee here, Mr. Rhines, who was part of the committee who gave the Historical Society the grant monies they needed to restore the building. So lots of collaboration.
Yep.
You were there as well. It was awesome.
Very interesting.
It really was.
It'll
It
be open
really
on a
was.
regular basis
I think,
going forward, and we'll,
When I got there, I think the count was around 150 people that had gone through the museum that day, and
yeah, it was great.
yeah. And I took some pictures of the committee members that were there, because Mr. O'Connor had been taking a lot of pictures, so then he gave me the camera, and I was able to get pictures of them
Great.
for the record, so, yeah, it was very well done. I hadn't been in that house in years, but they've really done a good job.
And they'll have regular hours they'll be open. I'm not sure what they're gonna be, but
It's Tuesdays,
Tuesdays,
correct. And then
we'll
there,
get the detail next weekend.
and the Dayton Historical Society meets the first Wednesday of every month at the Winslow Davis Museum at 6:30 PM.
Very well attended. I'd like to thank the residents who did attend on Saturday. I thought it was a great showing of support for our community. I ran into a few friends who live in Taunton that came down for the day. They happened to see the little notice in the newspaper. And they were highly impressed. That was a win-win for
there's a lot of interest in structures like that. There's a lot of interest in the reading of the Declaration of Independence, because there were a lot of people there that I have never seen in this town, and the age group was good. I mean, there were young children, and there were seniors, and everything in between. But, you know, it was in the local paper, and people do come out for those events.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We adjourn. Thank you, Cable.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, y'all.
It's hot in here, isn't it?
Wait till you go in the